Hare Krishna, welcome everyone to our Bhakti Vaibhav class. We'll begin with our prayers. Om Jnanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshuro Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Nitinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshatarane जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Hare Krishna. So we are continuing our discussion from Srimad Bhagvatam. We are Canto 4. We just completed the discussion of the wonderful topic of Dhruv Maharaj. We'll continue from chapter number 13, description of the descendants of Dhruv Maharaj. So we'll continue the discussion. We'll recite this verse. Suta uvacha nishamya kaushara vinopavarnitam dhruvasya vaikunta padadirohanam prarudha bhavo bhagvatya dokshaje prashtum punastam pradura prachakrame vidura prachakrame. Translation, somebody please read.
Sutta Goswami, continuing to speak to all the rishis headed by the Saunaka, said, after hearing Maitreya Rishi describe Dhruva Maharaj's ascent to Lord Vishnu's abode, Vidura became very much enlightened in devotional emotion, and he inquired from Maitreya as follows.
Okay. So, as Vidurji heard all these wonderful discussions of Dhruv Maharaj, he was so excited, so fascinated, enlivened, and he didn't stop there. He was not thinking, okay, I've heard enough of Krishna Katha, enough of Vaishnava Katha. Let me take a break. Prasad leke aata hu thoda. He continued asking questions. And Srila Prabhupada writes, as evidenced in the topics between Vidur and Maitreya, the activities of personality of Godhead and devotees are so fascinating that neither the devotee who is describing them nor the devotee who is hearing is at all fatigued. Vayam tu na vitripyama uttama shloka vikrame yashanvatam rasagyanam swadu swadu pade pade. That is the first place where Shaunakadi Rishis, they are expressing their eagerness to hear. And this eagerness comes again and again. Throughout the Bhagavatam, the hearer, they show their eagerness to hear about Harikatha. And the speaker, he becomes enlivened and he speaks more enthusiastically. So Prabhupada writes, transcendental matter is so nice that no one becomes tired of hearing or speaking. Others may ask, how can you devote so much time? It's like previously, before coming to Krishna consciousness, we would visit temple, and our temple visit was for just for a few minutes. That was sufficient. We went to temple, we offered obeisances, and asked whatever benedictions we wanted, and then came back. Business is over in 10 minutes. And now we spend whole day in temple sometimes. Now our relatives, our neighbors, they ask, where are you whole day? We went to temple. टेम्पल में दिन भर क्या कर रहे हैं आप लोग? टेम्पल का तो 5 मिनट में खत्म होता है business. So the devotees, they are in prarudha bhava, as Vidur is described here as enlightened in devotion, prarudha bhava. So the more we are enlivened in this path of bhakti, the more our taste for hearing increases. So Prabhupada writes how Krishna Katha is fascinating, no one gets satiated. In the previous chapters also, Vidurji, he had told Maitreya Muni that I have heard enough of dharma, artha, kama, moksha from my father Vyasdev. But these things, they didn't give me satisfaction. Please speak about Krishna. Paravaresham bhagavan shrutani me vyasa mukhadapikshnam atripnuma. They never satisfied me. They gave me very little pleasure. Shulla sukhavahana. They are insignificant in comparison to the ocean of Krishna Katha. Krishna Katha Amrit Ogha. The nectar of Krishna Katha is like an ocean. Vidurji, when Maitreya Muni heard, he said, "Arey, you must have heard Krishna Katha also a lot. You are born in the family of Krishna." Vidur says, who can be satisfied hearing about Krishna? Kastripnuya tirtapado vidhana satreshu vasuriviredyamana. Kastripnuyat. Who can be satisfied hearing Krishna Katha? So no one is, devotee is never satisfied hearing about Krishna, speaking about Krishna. One time Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, he was asked by one person that, Swamiji, you are releasing this magazine every month. Won't you run out of the topics? How can you publish every month a magazine? Saraswati Thakur said, I can publish a magazine every minute. That is the nature of Harikatha. But who will read? That's why I'm releasing once a month. So that's how the devotees, they are eager to hear about Krishna. They are eager to speak about Krishna. So here Vidur is Pradudha Bhava. His devotional sentiments increased hearing about Krishna. Prabhupada writes, the more they hear and talk, the more they become enthusiastic to hear. So we never get fatigued. Prabhupada writes, the chanting of Hare Krishna has only 3 words, Hare Krishna Ram, but we can keep on chanting, we never get fatigued. So that is the power of Krishna Katha. So now, in the previous chapter, it was described by Maitreya Muni in 41 to 43rd verses. Okay, so as Narad Muni, as Maitreya Muni is describing the story, he is telling that, okay, 41 to 43 verses, yes. So it is described that Narad Muni spoke about the glories of Dhruv Maharaj. It comes, I think, in somewhere we had heard that Narad Muni is speaking this glory to Prachetas. Yeah, in the 40th verse, yes. After observing the glories of Dhruv Maharaj, the great Saint Narad went to sacrificial arena of Prachetas and very happily chanted the following 3 verses. So that's what Maitreya Muni spoke. So Vidur, as he heard about Prachetas, he became very excited to hear about Prachetas. Who are these Prachetas? How did they meet Narad Muni? So all these questions Vidurji is going to ask. Vidura uvacha ete prachetaso nama kasya patyani suvrata kasyan vavaye prakhyata putrava sutrama sata. Translation.
Vidura inquired from the Maitreya, O greatly advanced devotee, who are the Prachetas? To which family did they belong? Whose sons were they? And where did they perform the great sacrifices?
Yes. So as soon as a devotee hears something, some avenue to hear more about Krishna or devotees, they never lose a chance. They are eager to catch hold of that opportunity and hear more. Manye Mahabhagavatam Naradam Devadarshanam Yena Prokta Kriya Yoga Paricharya Vidhi Hare. Translation.
Vidura continued, I know that the great sage Narada is greatest of all devotees. He has compiled the Pancharatrika procedure of devotional service and has directly met the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
So now Vidurji is telling more that, with Narad Muni met Prachetas, and Narad Muni is such a great devotee of the Lord. So when 2 devotees meet, for sure there must be Krishna Katha, which must have happened. So he's building the background, the question. And Prabhupada focuses on the 2 types of approaches, Bhagavat Vidhi and Pancharatra Vidhi. Bhagavat Vidhi means Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smarana Vidha Bhakti, and Pancharatrika Vidhi means deity worship. So the question may come that if the Yuga Dharma is Nama Sankirtan, Kali Yuga Dharma Krishna Nama Sankirtan, so what was the need to introduce this Pancharatra? Because we are not qualified, we are not at that level to keep on chanting whole day. In the conditioned state, the sadhakas cannot chant whole day. So therefore, to keep some more engagement, to give a very, very powerful way to purify the mind, this Pancharatra Vidhi is also given. He continues. Swadharmashilai Purushai Bhagavan Yagya Purusha Ijyamano Bhaktimada Narade Nerita Kila. Translation.
While all the Prachetas were executing religious rituals and sacrificial ceremonies, and thus worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead for his satisfaction, the great sage Narada described the transcendental qualities of Dhruva Maharaj.
So, as he had heard that Prachetas, they were doing sacrificial rituals, and there they met Narad Muni. So just to have a brief history of Prachetas. Prachetas were the sons of Prachina Barihi. They went to do tapasya. They met Lord Shiva on the way. Lord Shiva told them Rudra Gita, and Rudra Gita means the song to please the Lord Vishnu. They went and did tapasya underwater. They did tapasya for thousands of years. Lord appeared. They gave benedictions. The Lord gave benedictions to Prachetas. When they came out of the water, they found that entire earth is full of trees. The trees were growing out of proportion. And they became so very angry, they started burning all the trees. So the deity of the forest came and pacified these Prachetas, and in return gave Marisha. So Marisha was born of a great sage and Apsara. I forgot the name of the Apsara. Anyone remembers the name of that Apsara? So, anyways, so this Apsara, when this Marisha was born, this Apsara just left this small baby and went to heavens. This small child was taken care by the forest, the deity of the forest. So the forest deity brought that small child. Now she was grown lady. She was brought and she was married to Prachetas. All the 9 Prachetas they married. 10 Prachetas they married. 1 Marisha. They ruled for many, many thousands of years, and ultimately they retired. They went to the forest. There met a sage called Jabali. And Jabali, he taught them Ashtanga Yoga. And they started practicing Ashtanga Yoga. At that time, Narad Muni came there, and Narad Muni instructed them again in the principles of Bhakti. And to glorify the principles of Bhakti, Narad Muni spoke about the glorious devotional service of Dhruv Maharaj. So this is the history. So Prabhupada writes, Narad Muni is always glorifying the pastimes of the Lord. In this verse, we see that not only does he glorify the Lord, but he also glorifies the devotee of the Lord. Shrutasya pumsam shuchirashramasya nanvanjasa suribhiridito arthaha tat gunano shravanam mukunda padaravindam hridayeshu yesham. Anybody who is endeavoring to hear what he should hear about the glories of the devotees of the Lord, because they have Krishna in their heart. So Narad Muni, he glorifies Krishna also, he glorifies devotees also. And Vaishnava Katha is more potent than Krishna Katha. Prabhupada writes, the great sage Narada's mission is to broadcast devotional service. For this purpose, he compiled the Narada Pancharatra, so that devotees can take information on how to execute bhakti 24 hours a day. Because ultimately, different social orders, they are supposed to please the Lord. Narada Pancharatra means it describes how every varna can please the Lord. Prabhupada quotes this verse, Sve sve karmanya virataha samsiddhi labhate naraha. By performing one's prescribed duties, one can please the Lord. And that is ultimate perfection of life. Samsiddhi haritoshanam. So Vidura continues that Narad Muni is such a great devotee and he met Prachetas. What did he say? Vyasta devarshina tatra varnita bhagavat katha mahyam shushrushave brahman kartsnena chashtumarhasi. Translation.
My dear Brahmana, how did Narad Muni glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and what pastimes were described in that meeting? I'm very eager to hear of them. Kindly explain fully about that glorification of the Lord.
Yes. So he says, I'm very eager to hear. It is not that हाँ आपको बताना है तो बता दीजिए नहीं तो कोई बात नहीं चलेगा. He was very eager. This eagerness is the price one has to pay. Tatra laulyam api mulyam ekalam. This eagerness is the price. So here, the discussion is going on between the great devotee, two great devotees, Maitreya and Vidurji. Tanno bhavanvai bhagavat pradhano mahattam ekanta parayanasya harerudaram charitam vishuddham shushrushinatamno vitanotu vidwan. Anyone remembers this verse has come where? You are great devotee, Bhagavat Pradhan, and we are eager to hear, and we are discussing the topics of Krishna. Who is speaking to whom? Anyone remembers that? Who is speaking to whom?
I think so. The Saunakadi Rishi is glorifying the Sutta Goswami.
Yeah, Shaunaka Rishis, they speak. In the 18th chapter of the first canto, it comes. Shushrushata, we are eager to hear. Similarly, here also, Mahyam Shushrushaveh. Shushrushaveh means very eager. So, this eagerness is very important. Prabhupada writes, Srimad Bhagvatam is a record of Bhagavat Katha. What Vidur was anxious to hear was from Maitreya. We can also hear, provided we are very eager. Dwarkavasis, they were used to seeing Krishna. Every day, practically, they were seeing Krishna. As Krishna would leave his palace and go to Sudharma assembly hall, all the Dwarkavasis would be on the roads welcoming Krishna, taking darshan of Krishna. But the eagerness of Dwarkavasis, it never got satiated. It never went down कि every day तो देखते ही हैं, आज थोड़ा break लेते हैं. No. नित्यं निरीक्ष्यमाणानां यदपि द्वारकौकसं न वितृप्यन्ति हीदृशं श्रियो धामाङ्गमच्युतम्. Nityam nirikshyamanaana. Nitya, they were doing darshan of the Lord every day. Yadapi dwarakaukasam, all the Dwarkavasis they were doing. But na vitripyanti, they were never satiated. Because Krishna is abode of all beauty. Who can be satisfied here seeing the beauty of Krishna? Gopya tapa kimacharam yadamushya rupam lavanya sarama samordvamananya siddham. All the Mathura ladies, they are telling what austerity these gopis must have performed, that they were taking darshan of this beautiful form of Krishna every day, which is the essence of loveliness, lavanya saram, asamordham. There is nothing equal to Krishna or greater than Krishna. Nobody can be satisfied hearing about Krishna, speaking about Krishna. So as Parikshit, this Vidurji is asking the secret, the history of Prachetas, he was very eager. Parikshit Maharaj was so very eager hearing about Krishna. when Shukdev Goswami speaks Putana pastime. Sakhechari ekadotpatya Putana Nand Gokulam Putana Balaghatini Shushumsachara Nighnanti Puragrama Prajadishu. Shukdev Goswami said, Putana is now entering Gokul through the skyways. She is Balaghatini. Parikshit Maharaj, he's so absorbed hearing about Krishna, he becomes fearful. And seeing the anxiety on the face of Parikshit Maharaj, Shukdev Goswami pacifies him. Don't worry, nothing will happen to Krishna. Wherever the names of Krishna is there, one can be free from all the fear. Where Krishna is there personally, what wrong can happen? Nayatra Shravana Dini Rakshoghnani Swakarmasu Guruvanti Satvatam Bhartu Yatu Dhanya Shatatrahi. So that is the eagerness of the devotees of the Lord. We have heard about Kulakshekar Maharaj, how eager he was. We know the story, right? When one Brahmana would come every day and he would recite Ramayana, and one day he recited, this Ravan coming and kidnapping Mother Sita. So Kulakshekar Maharaj, he entered that mood. As this Brahmana is reciting, he takes out his sword and says, we have to protect Mother Sita. Call all the army. And everybody is thinking, abhi kaun sa army ko kahan jayenge hum log, how we will protect it. This happened long back. But nobody could do anything. They are helplessly following Kulakshekar Maharaj, and one soldier is asking, where are we going? And he says, I don't know, you ask the king. And they said, kuch to karna padega. Aisa to nahi chalega. So the minister got an idea, one minister. He said, we will send one of our soldiers and he will come from front and he will tell that Lord Ram has already reached Lanka, he has killed Ravan and Mother Sita is back. And that happened, and then ultimately Kulakshekar Maharaj was satisfied. From that day on, they understood, Baba, inko अच्छा अच्छा चीजें बताएंगे. They would never tell anything which is sad or which is, having a bad ending. So this Brahmana would speak all nice pastimes. Lord Ram and Sita are in the forest, they are enjoying, and Ayodhya mein kya ho raha hai. One day this Brahmana became sick. His son was sent. But this Brahmana forgot to tell the son what not to tell. And he started describing all the monkey soldiers, they are on the Rameshwaram. And Lord Ram is thinking what to do. They are wondering, and all the monkeys are thinking what to do. So Kulakshekar Maharaj again enters the mood. He says, we will have to help Lord Ram. We will go and we will rescue Mother Sita. So all the armies of Kulakshekar Maharaj, they are going and they are reaching the shore of Rameshwaram. And everybody is thinking, ab kya karenge? But Kulakshekar Maharaj with his horse, he is entering the ocean. And everybody is thinking how to stop Kulakshekar. They had no way. अभी ओशन के दूसरी तरफ से भेज नहीं सकते किसी को. Ultimately, the horse was underwater, and this entire Kulakshekar Maharaj went in the ocean. His only sword was there. Up. Lord Ram himself appeared along with Lakshman and Mother Sita and picked up Kulakshekar Maharaj out of the ocean and said, "Oh Kulakshekar, don't worry." Lord Ram is telling, "Don't worry, I have already rescued Mother Sita. You go back." That was the absorption of the devotees of the Lord. That is the eagerness to hear Harikatha. So that is the eagerness one has to cultivate. Hearing about Krishna, never thinking kab khatam hoga. No. It's like one time Radha Govind Maharaj was giving a talk, katha in a village area in India, and in the village they have this pratha कि भाई कथा के बीच में से उठना नहीं चाहिए. And Maharaj, he was continuing half an hour, 1 hour, 1.5, 2 hours, and कथा खत्म ही नहीं हो रही है. So after 2.5 hours, Maharaj says, anybody has any questions? किसी को कुछ प्रश्न है? तो one person raises his hands. महाराज बोलते हैं, हाँ क्या प्रश्न है बताइए. वो बोलता है, महाराज ये कथा खत्म कब होगी वो बताइए आप पहले. वही हमारा प्रश्न है. That is not the eagerness. So here Maitreya, the Vidur is very enthusiastic, very eager. As soon as he hears Prachetas, oh Prachetas कौन है, कहाँ से थे, कौन से family, किधर गए, please tell us everything. So because Prachetas, they were coming in the dynasty of Dhruv Maharaj. So now Maitreya Muni starts describing the dynasty of Dhruv Maharaj. Okay, now we'll continue reading the translations, please. 6th verse. Oh.
Hare Krishna. The great sage Maitreya replied, My dear Vidura, when Maharaj Dhruva departed for the forest, his son Utkal did not desire to accept the opulent throne of his father, which was meant for the ruler of all the lands of this planet. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so Dhruva had two sons, Utkal and Vatsar. Utkal was a great devotee detached from birth. He had no interest to rule the kingdom. He became renunciant. His qualities are described in next 3 verses. Sajanamopashantatma nissanga samadarshana dadarche lokavitatam atmanam loka atmani. Translation.
From his very birth, Utkal was fully satisfied and unattached to the world. He was equipoised, for he could see everything resting in the super soul and the super soul present in everyone's heart.
Okay. Upashantatma, peaceful. Nisanga, completely detached. Samadarshana, equipoised. Dadarsh loke vitatam. He saw super soul in everyone's heart. So Prabhupada in purport he describes this is the vision of a Mahabhagavat. Yomam pashyati sarvatra sarvam chamai pashyati. A Mahabhagavat devotee sees the Lord everywhere. स्थावर जंगम देखे ना देखी तारा मूर्ति सर्वत्र होए निज इष्ट देव स्फूर्ति. So for a pure devotee of the Lord, he is not seeing moving and non-moving beings. He is seeing Krishna everywhere. That is a pure devotee. So Prabhupada writes how Krishna manifests this, he pervades the entire world in his impersonal form. And a Mahabhagavat can see the Lord in everyone. Atmanam Brahma Nirvanam Pratyasatmita Vigraham Avabodha Rasaikatmyam Anandam Anusantatam Avyachinna Yogagni Dagda Karma Malashaya Swarupam Avarundhano Natmano Anyam Tadaikshata. Translation.
By expansion of his knowledge of the Supreme Brahman, he had already attained the liberation from the bondage of the body. This liberation is known as Nirvana. He was situated in the transcendental bliss, and he continued always in that blissful existence, which expanded more and more. This was possible for him by continual practice of the Bhakti Yoga, which is compared to the fire, because it burns away all dirty material things. He was always situated in his constitutional position of the self-realization, and he could not see anything else but the Supreme Lord and himself engaged in the discharging devotional service.
Okay, so these are the further qualities of Utkal. Dagdha karma malashayam. The word used here is Dagdha karma malashayah. He was purified of all the dirty things in his mind. Ashaya means the dirty things in the Ashaya means the repository. Our mind is the repository of all the desires, all the impressions. The mind is completely purified. Just like fire. That was possible for him by the continual practice of Bhakti Yoga. Avyavachinna Anusantatam, and these are the qualities of Bhakti. Continuous, expanding devotional service. He kept on practicing bhakti more and more. And that's how he could see the Lord everywhere. Prabhupada writes, this is a situation of a liberated soul, Brahma Bhuta Prasannatmanu, one who has realized the Supreme Lord. And Prabhupada focuses on this word, Dagdha Karma Malashaya. By the practice of chanting the names of the Lord, one becomes completely purified. Cheto Darpana Marjanam, he achieves higher taste. Prabhupada focuses on that more. After one achieves the lotus feet of Krishna, one does not hanker for anything else of this world. Yam labdhva cha param labham manyate na adhikam tataha. After achieving this, yam labdhva aparam labham na manyate. He does not want anything else of this world. Krishna pada padma gandha jai jana pae brahma lok adi sukh tare nahi bhai. After one achieves the lotus feet of Krishna, he does not want anything of this world. That is the situation of a pure devotee of the Lord. He is completely detached. So this Utkal was at that level. And like we have heard many times, how these liberated souls, they behave like Avadhuta, so that nobody, give them some responsibility. They want to be completely detached. We have heard about in the fifth canto, it will come about Jad Bharat, how Jad Bharat, he completely behaved in opposite way. जो सिखाया उसका उल्टा ही करना है. He would go and respond to nature's call, and before that he would wash his hands and then he would go to respond to nature's call. पक्का opposite, जो सिखाया उसका उल्टा, so that nobody would give him any responsibility. He doesn't want to get entangled. Utkal also behaved like that. Jadanda Bahironmatta Badhironmatta Muka Kritirna Tanmati Lakshita Pati Balana Prashantarchi Ivanalaha. Translation.
Kala appeared to the less intelligent person on the road to be foolish, blind, dumb, deaf, and mad, although actually he was not so. He remained like fire covered with ashes, without blazing flame.
So Prabhupada talks about Jad Bharat also, how these people, they are completely absorbed in their own bhajan. They have nothing to do with the world. They are Goshtyan, they are Bhajana Nandi. But those who are Goshtyanandis, they are interested in preaching. Of course, a best Bhajananandi can become a best Goshtyanandi. A person who is not good in his own bhajan, how can he preach? So because Srila Prabhupada was the best Bhajananandi, he did such intense bhajan, therefore he could preach also. So these devotees, like Utkal, Jad Bharat, they behave in such a way so that they are not disturbed by materialistic men. And they can focus on their devotional service. When people, they trouble us with their opinions, with their various ideas, how to increase our material standards, how should we respond? How should we respond? We should say, perfect, whatever you're saying is perfect. Very good idea. But we should never do it. We should always say yes, yes. अच्छा बोल रहे हैं. ज्ञातया पितर पुत्रा भ्रातर सुहृदोपरे यद्वदन्ति यदिच्छन्ति च अनुमोदित निर्ममा. अनुमोदन करना है. अनुमोदन means acknowledge their ideas and opinions, but never accept them. You should tell them that you are such an intelligent person. What intelligent idea you have given. And they'll become peaceful. Ah, chalo, he accepts. And they'll not trouble. Okay. So because Utkal was completely behaving like a mad person, so the ministers and the elder members, what they did, they installed his younger brother, Vatsar, as the king. Next verse translation.
Hare Krishna. For this reason, the ministers and all the elderly members of the family thought Utkal to be without intelligence and, in fact, mad. Thus, his younger brother, named Vatsara, the son of Brahmi, was elevated to the royal throne and he became king of the world. Bha-
Next translation.
King
So
Vatsara,
from 12 to 18 verses, the descendants of Dhruv Maharaj will be described. Yeah, keep reading the translations.
King Vatsara had a very dear wife whose name was Swavati, and she gave to 6 sons named Pushpapurna, Trigametu, Tigameketu, Isha, Urja, Vasu, and Jaya.
So Vatsar's wife, she is mentioned here as Ishta. Ishta means she was faithful, she was worshipable. Prabhupada writes, it appears that Vatsar's wife had all the good qualities. She was always faithful, obedient, affectionate. If both the husband and wife are endowed with good qualities and live peacefully, then nice children take birth and whole family is happy and prosperous. Okay, next verse, translation.
Pushparna. Sorry.
Pushparna had 2 wives named Prabha and Tosha. Prabha had 3 sons named Pratar, Madhyadina, and Sayam.
Prata, Madhyandinam and Sayan. Pratah Kal, Madhya and Sayam Kal. They are born here. Okay, next.
Dosa
Those had 3 sons,
What?
Dosa, Nishita, and Vishta. Vishta's wife was named Pushkarni, and she gave birth to a very powerful son named Sarvetaja.
Thank you. I thought new addition is there. Okay, great. Next verse, translation please. बहुत सारे अच्छे अच्छे नाम है इसमें, मतलब डिफिकल्ट नाम है या फिर मैं पढ़ लूं?
Sarvateja's wife, Akuti, gave birth to a son named Chakshusha, who became the 6th Manu at the end of the Manu millennium. Nadvala, the wife of Chakshusha, Manu, gave birth to the following faultless sons: Puru, Kutsa, Krita, Dyumna, Satyavan, Rita, Vrata, Agnishtoma, Atiratra, Pradyumna, Shibi, and Ulmuka.
Okay, next.
Hare Krishna. Of the 12 sons, Ulmukha begot 6 sons in his wife Pushkarni. They were all very good sons, and other names were Anga, Sumana, Khyati, Kratu, Angira, and Gaya. Hare Krishna.
Okay, Angira Rishi is born here. Okay, next.
The wife of Anga, Suniti, gave birth
सुनीति नहीं, सुनीता. सुनीता और सुनीति में जमीन आसमान का फर्क है.
a son named Vena, who was very cruel. The saintly king Anga was very disappointed with Vena's bad character, and he left home and kingdom and went out to the forest.
So here now the main character is entering, the Sunitha. So Sunitha, she is the daughter of death personified. And this Anga Maharaj, who is born of Ulmuka. So Ulmuka begot 6 sons in his wife Pushkarini. One of them was Anga Maharaj, the great devotee of the Lord. Somehow, I don't know what happened, why he married Sunita, that is not mentioned. But he married Sunitha, who was the daughter of death personified, very inauspicious. And because mother was coming from that background, the son was naturally having the qualities of the grandfather, maternal grandfather. He was very crooked. And because of the bad behavior of Vena, this Anga became so disgusted that he left the kingdom. Okay, it will be described more in some time. Yeah, translation.
My dear
Now,
Vidura,
now
great
what
sages
Maitreya Muni is
curse
doing,
their
sorry, now what Maitreya Muni is doing, he's just, quickly summarizing because he wants to come to Prachetas. He is not intending to describe in detail all this story of Vena, then Anga, Vena, Prithu, all that. He is not intending, but it is because of the inquisitiveness of Vidurji. He is asking at every moment, एक minute, slow down, slow down. ये वेण के बारे में बताओ मेरे को, फिर अंग महाराज के बारे में बताओ. He is asking, he'll ask everything in detail. So he's just summarizing. Yes, translation.
My dear Vidura, when great sages curse, their words are as invincible as a thunderbolt. Thus, when they cursed King Vena out of anger, he died. After his death, since there was no king, all rogues and thieves flourished. The kingdom became unregulated, and all the citizens suffered greatly. On seeing this, the great sages took the right hand of Vena as a churning rod, and as a result of their churning, Lord Vishnu, in his partial representation, made his advent as King Prithu, the original emperor of the world.
Okay. So wonderfully, Maitreya Muni has summarized the entire pastime in 2 verses. And he is in the mood of going ahead. He is not in a mood of spending much time. But that's how sometimes the speakers of Bhagavatam they do. And they check the eagerness of audience. They'll quickly describe some of the pastimes and they'll go ahead, leaving a chance for the audience to ask questions. And if they ask questions, they'll hear more. Similar thing happened at the end of the 9th canto. Shukdev Goswami summarized entire pastimes of Krishna in 2 verses. So Parikshit Maharaj became disturbed. Said, क्या दो श्लोक में आपने पूरा पास्ट टाइम खत्म किया? I wanted to hear 90 chapters and you are speaking 2 verses only. Can you please explain me in detail? Don't think I'm satisfied. Don't think I'm hungry, thirsty. Naesha atidussaha shanmam teptodam apibadate pipantam tonmukham bhojaj tam harikathamritam. Don't think I am hungry and thirsty. I'm drinking the nectar of Harikatha from your mouth. Please keep on speaking about Krishna. So similarly, now, of course, Prabhupada in the purport, he describes monarchy is better than democracy. Prabhupada would say democracy means demon crazy. If the monarchy is very strong, the regulative principles within the kingdom are upheld very nicely. Even 100 years ago in the state of Kashmir, the king was so strong that if a thief were arrested and brought before him, king would immediately chop off the hands of the thief. Prabhupada must have heard some kings doing this. As a result of this severe punishment, practically there were no theft cases. Even if someone left something on the street, nobody would touch it. That was the powerful government. Not like today's government. Prabhupada writes. In so-called democracy, wherever there is a theft case, the police come, take note of the case, but generally thief is never caught, nor is any punishment offered to him. So now, Vidurji, as he is hearing this story, he is astonished. How is this possible? A bad son taking birth from a good king? We have heard differently. Good trees give birth to good fruits. ऐसा कैसे हो सकता है? विदुर उवाच तस्य शीलनिधे साधो ब्रह्मण्यस्य महात्मना राज्ञा कथम अभूतुष्टा प्रजायत विमनाययो. Translation.
Vidura inquired from the sage Maitreya, "My dear Brahmana, King Anga was very gentle. He had high character and was a saintly personality and a lover of Brahmanical culture. How is it that such a great soul got a bad son like Venu, because of whom he became indifferent to his kingdom and left it?
Tasya Sheel Nidhe, he was an ocean of good qualities. Sadhu, he was having a high character, Anga Maharaj. Brahmanyasya, he was a lover of Brahminical culture. Mahatmanaha, personally, he was a great saintly personality. How is it? Abhu Dushta Praja? अरे दुष्ट प्रजा कैसे आ गई? How he got a bad son? So much so that he became Vimana. He became completely indifferent. Prabhupada in the purport, he describes something very interesting. He says there are 4 enemies in the family. Who are the 4 enemies in the family? ऋणकर्ता पिता शत्रु माता च व्यभिचारिणी रूपवती भार्या शत्रु पुत्र शत्रु अपंडितः. If a father has too much of debt, he is an enemy because the debt will come to the son. If mata vyabhichari, if mother marries second time, she is enemy. Rupavati bharya shatru, if wife is beautiful, she is enemy. Why? Because the person will be attached to her wife, his wife. And putra shatru apandita, a foolish rascal son is an enemy. So he's asking, how can this happen? He continues. Kim vam ho vena uddishya brahma dandam ayuyujan dandavrata dhare ragi munayo dharma kovidah. Translation.
Vicar also inquired, how is it that the great sages, who are the completely conversant with to curse King Vena, who himself carried the rod of punishment, and thus awarded him a greatest punishment, Brahma Shapa.
Kim vam ho. How is it? What type of sinful activity Vena performed? First, they asked about Anga. How Vena was born of such a great king, Anga. And how is it that this Vena, who was king, who must, and the sages who are conversant with the Brahmanical principles, religious principles, how can they kill the king? Who was Dandavrata Dhara? The king means he carries the rod of punishment, he is a controller. How is it possible? Why did they do so? Because they were Kovida, they were knowers of religion. So why the sages killed Vena? And another astonishment, so Prabhupada writes in the purport, it is understood that the king is able to give punishment to everyone. But in this case, it appears that the sages punished him. The king must have done something very serious. Otherwise, how could the great sages, who are supposed to be the greatest and most tolerant, punish him in spite of his elevated in spite of their religious consciousness? Brahmanas are not supposed to kill. Brahmanas are not supposed to take law in their hand. And especially Satyuga Brahmanas, they were not Kaliyuga Brahmanas. How can they do something which is unheard of? So Vidurji is asking all these questions. Navadhyeya prajapala prajabhi raghavanapi yadasau lokapalanam vipartyoja sadejasa. Translation.
It is the duty of all the citizens in a state never to insult the king, even though he sometimes appear to have done something very sinful. Because of his prowess, the king is always more influential than all other ruling chiefs. chiefs.
So another astonishment is, how can the citizens disregard king? Even if the king is sinful, he should not be disregarded by the citizens. Citizens should never insult the king. So how is it that the citizens, they insulted king? Because king is always more influential than all the other ruling chiefs. Prabhupada writes, according to Vedic civilization, king is supposed to be the representative of Supreme Lord. That's why he's called as Naradeva. He is called Nar Narayana. He is a representative of the Supreme Lord. It is etiquette that neither a Brahmana nor a Kshatriya king is ever insulted by the citizens, even though the king appears sinful. Just like if the Brahmana does something wrong, they should not be punished. The Kshatriyas are also like that. But in the case of Vena, it appears that he was cursed by the Brahmanas. How is it? He must have done something very sinful. Otherwise, it was not an ordinary case. Generally, the Kshatriyas are not punished. Generally, the Brahmanas are not punished. But here, this Vena is killed. He must have done something very sinful. Therefore, after speaking all these things, he says, I want to hear about this story. Etadakyahi me Brahman sunithatmaja cheshtitam shraddadhanaya bhaktaya tvama paravaravittamaha. Translation.
Vidura requested Maitreya, my dear Brahmana, you are well versed with all subjects, both past and future. Therefore, I wish to hear from you all the activities of King Vena. I am your faithful devotee, so please explain this.
So Vidurji, he says, whatever you have said, I am not able to believe because of three reasons. First, he says, how can a saintly king get such a bad son like Vena? That is difficult to accept. How can the intelligent sages kill Vena? That is difficult to accept. And how can the citizens disregard the king? That is also difficult to accept. So therefore, I have faith in your words. He's not challenging Vidurji. That is very important. Prabhupada writes, a disciple always inquires from the spiritual master, and spiritual master answers the question, provided the disciple is very gentle and devoted. What is that 4.34? Bhagavad Gita? Tadvidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Submissive inquiries are must. The way we ask questions, that is very important. They should not be done in challenging way. So Vidurji is very humbly saying, I have faith in your words. Shraddadhanaya bhaktaya. I am not challenging your words. I am not questioning your words. I am just trying to understand why this happened. So can you please explain me? Because these topics, they are very difficult to accept. So now, Maitreya Muni, he starts the story. What happened? Translation, please.
Sri Maitreya replied, my dear Vidura, once the great king Ganga arranged to perform the great sacrifice known as knew how to, but in spite of their efforts, no demigods participated or appeared in that sacrifice.
Panga Maharaj, he performed Ashwamedha Yajna, and ideally in any yajna, for the yajna to be complete, the Devtas should appear and accept the oblations. Personally, they have to appear. And they would appear in the previous times. But apparently in this yajna, no Devta appeared to accept their share. So Prabhupada writes about Ashwamedha again here. He describes about all these Gavalambam, Ashwamedha, how they are restricted in Kali Yuga. So therefore only one yajna works, that is Sankirtan yajna. The priests, then they informed Anga Maharaj what happened, why the Devatas didn't appear. Translation.
The priests engaged in the sacrifice, then informed King Anga, O king, we are properly offering the clarified butter in the sacrifice, but despite all our efforts, the demigods do not accept it.
Next.
O king, we know that the paraphernalia to perform the sacrifice is well collected by you with the great faith and care and is not polluted. Our chanting of the Vedic hymns is also not deficient in any way. For all the brahmanas and priests present here are expert and are executing the performances properly.
So now the priests, they also are concerned. It was their responsibility also that the Devatas should have appeared. But none of the Devatas are appearing. So they also are explaining that they have done everything right. So they are saying, see, you are not at fault because you have arranged all these ingredients very purely, and we are doing our part nicely. We are chanting also very properly. So Prabhupada in the purport, he focuses on this word. The chanting Chandamsi Ayat Yamani. Our mantras are not deficient. If a mantra is not chanted properly, it may have an opposite effect. And the famous example in Bhagavatam is Tvashta, chanting the mantra Indra Shatru. And instead of a demon who will kill Indra, he chanted a mantra in a little longer meter, and a demon was killed who will be killed by Indra, Vritrasura. So Prabhupada writes about that, how in this age nobody can chant mantras properly. Therefore, Hare Krishna mantra is sufficient. Even if it is not chanted properly, it will have the same effect. Either you chant Rama or Ramo or Rama, it will have same effect. So that is the power of mantra, Hare Krishna mantra. So these priests, they are telling, we are not able to understand what happened. Na vidameha devanam helanam vayamanvapi yanna grihananti bhagan swan ye deva karma sakshina. Translation.
Dear King, we do not find any reason that demigods would feel insulted or neglected in any way. But still the demigods who are witnesses for the sacrifice do not accept their shares. We do not know why this is so.
So everybody, all the priests are confused. What happened? They didn't do anything wrong. They performed rituals nicely. They chanted mantras nicely. The ingredients were pure. Prabhupada writes, there is seva aprad. If the seva aprad is done, then one will not get the result. So therefore, Prabhupada says, those who are engaged in worshipping the deity in the temple, they should avoid such offenses in service, seva aprad. And in Nectar of Devotion, Rupa Goswami has described 32 types of seva aprad. Prabhupada mentions that. So now, when none of the priests were able to understand, then the head priest, he said something. Okay, next verse. Translation, please.
Maitreya, continue, please.
Maitreya explained that the king Anga, after hearing the statement of the priest, was greatly grieved. At that time, he took permission from the priest to break his silence and inquired from all the priests who were present in the sacrificial arena.
So it seems that during the sacrifice, the Yajman should maintain complete silence. He cannot speak anything. He has to just be very attentive, hearing mantras. But now it was high time. He was confused, so he broke his silence and he asked, what is the problem? Please, can you tell me? Because the priests, they were not able to understand. So Anga Maharaj, he could understand that there must be something which has happened. Either these priests are not telling me, or they don't know, or something is happening. So he is now frankly asking, Na gacchantyahuta deva na grihananti grahaniha sadasaspatayo bruta kim avadyam maya kritam. Translation.
King
King
Anga
Anga,
addressed the priestly order. My dear priests, kindly tell me what offense I have committed. Although invited, the demigods are neither taking part in the sacrifice nor accepting their shares.
Next. Now, when Anga Maharaj asked personally, then the head priest, he told something very important. Translation.
the head priest said, O king, in this life we do not find any sinful activity, even within your mind. So you are not in the least offensive. But when we when we can see that in your previous life you perform a sinful activities due to which in spite of your having all qualifications you have no son. Hare Krishna.
So now the head priest says, "Ye life to aapka pure hai. You must have done something in the past life." We can see. So these priests were powerful enough to see that this person must have done something sinful in the past life. He has done something sinful. Prabhupada writes, the purpose of marrying is to beget a son because son is necessary to deliver his father and forefathers. Putra hinam griham shunyam. So that is the meaning of putra. Punnaraka trayate iti putra. So because the son offers oblations to the fathers and forefathers, they are delivered from the hellish situations. And if the son is not there, what is the use of the family life? Putrahinam griham shunyam. So, Prabhupada writes, the king Anga was very pious in this life, but because of his previous sinful activity, he could not get a son. Okay. Now, he continues. This head priest continues. Translation, please.
Hare Krishna, O king, we wish all good fortune for you. You have no son, but if you pray at once to the Supreme Lord and ask for a son, and if you execute the sacrifice for that purpose, the enjoyer of the sacrifice, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, will fulfill your desire. Hare Krishna.
You ask the Lord for a son. Lord is Yagya Bhuk. He will fulfill all your desires. And then when the Lord is satisfied, now the Devatas are not coming. So you worship Supreme Lord Vishnu. So he will come. And when he will come, then naturally all the Devatas will also come. Next verse translation.
When Hari, the supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices, is invited to fulfill your desire for a son, all the demigods will come with him and take their shares in the sacrifice.
Next translation.
The performance of sacrifices under karma kanda activities achieves the fulfillment of the desire for which he worships the Lord.
So when one worships the Lord appears, and along with the Lord, all the Devatas appear, and Devatas, they can give all the benedictions one wants. So Prabhupada writes, the Lord says that he awards the benedictions to the worshippers according to his desire. Yo yo yam yam tanum bhakta shraddhaya architumicchati tasya tasya achalam shraddham tameva vididhamyaham. He says, oh sorry, this is another verse. So this is the verse which Krishna is saying that he fulfills all the desires. Whatever, either you have artha, artharthi, jigyasu, whatever problem you have, Krishna will fulfill the desires. When they go to Krishna, Krishna fulfills the desires. Supreme Lord gives all the living entities conditioned within this world, full freedom to act in their own way. But to his devotee, he says that instead of working in that way, better to surrender to him. Lord never interferes in the free will of any living entity. But when the living entities they surrender to the Lord, then Lord actively guides them. That is the difference between a devotee and a fruitive actor. A devotee is completely surrendered to the Lord. He renders unalloyed devotion, anya abhilashita shunyam. So now, because the king was really upset, really sad, so all the priests they started offering oblations to please Lord Vishnu. Translation.
Thus, for the sake of a son for King Anga, they decided to offer oblations to Lord Vishnu, who is situated in the hearts of all living entities.
So they started again performing yajna and offered rituals, offered oblations to the Supreme Lord. And then what happened? Next verse.
As soon
As
as
soon yeah, good.
in the fire, a person appeared from the fire altar wearing a golden garland and a white dress. He was carrying a golden pot filled with rice boiled in milk.
He was carrying paisam. Yes, next verse.
The king was very liberal. The king was very liberal, and after taking permission from the priests, he took the preparation in his joined palms, and after smelling it, he offered a portion to his wife.
So Prabhupada focuses on this word, Udarathi. The king was very liberal. Why he is called as very liberal? Because although Sunita was not fit to accept this benediction, she was daughter of death personified. She was not supposed to become mother of, accepting this great paisam. But he was so liberal that without hesitation, he offered to his wife this paisam, which was received from Yajna Purusha. Of course, everything is designed by the Lord. As will be explained later, this incident was not very favorable to the king. But why Lord allowed all these things to happen? So when things happen in the life of a devotee, we should understand that Lord is planning the detachment of a devotee in that way. Whatever actions, whatever plans Lord has for a devotee, it is only for one purpose, to make a devotee detached from this material world and attached to himself. So the king, although he was so very attached, he wanted a son. Therefore, the Lord allowed all these things to happen so that he can get a bad son and then he can get detached. Because Anga Maharaj later tells that bad son is better than good son. You know why? Because bad son will give impetus for detachment. He says, if I would have received a good son, I would have become attached to him. So therefore, Prabhupada writes, Lord fulfills the desire of a devotee in a different way, so that the devotee may gradually come to him. Okay, next verse. Satat pum savanam ragi parprashya vaipatyuradade garbham kalo pavritte kumaram shushuve praja. Translation.
Although the queen had no son, after eating that food, which had the power to produce a male child, she became pregnant by her husband, and in due course of time, she gave birth to a son.
Next.
That boy was born partially in the dynasty of irreligion. His grandfather was death personified, and the boy grew up as his follower. He became a greatly irreligious person.
So Prabhupada in the purport he describes how the child generally follows the principles of his maternal uncle's house. Naranam matulam karma. So child generally gets the qualities, the son generally gets the qualities from the maternal side, and the daughter gets the qualities from the paternal side. So here, because the maternal side was sinful, death personified. So therefore, Vena, he became really irreligious, greatly irreligious person. Prabhupada writes, if the maternal family is very corrupt or sinful, the child, even though born of a good father, becomes a victim of the maternal family. According to Vedic civilization, therefore, before the marriage takes place, an account is taken of both the families. It appears that King Anga did not get a very good wife in Sunita because she was daughter of death personified. Sometimes, now Prabhupada writes something interesting. Sometimes the Lord arranges an unfortunate wife for his devotee so that gradually, due to family circumstance, the devotee becomes detached from his wife. Prabhupada would tell sometimes about himself. He would tell that when I was married, I was not so happy with my wife. I wanted to get remarried. He went to his father to tell this. His father was such a great devotee of the Lord. He said, this is good that you are not attached to your wife. It will give you impetus to get renounced from the world. That was his father. Okay. Now, what this Vena would do, the cruelty of Vena, how cruel he was. Sasharasanamudhyamya mrigayurvanagochara hantyassadurmrigandinan veno savityaraujanaha. Translation.
After fixing his bow and arrow, the cruel boy used to go to the forest and unnecessarily kill innocent deer. And as soon as he came, all the people would cry, "Here comes cruel Vena! Here comes cruel Vena!" Hare Krishna.
So that's how Vena was so sinful that he would create terror wherever he would go. He says, Chakravarti Thakur writes that when citizens would see him, they would become so scared, they would think, he is coming, now maybe he'll kill us too. So therefore they would run away. That was the beginning, Prabhupada writes. So from the beginning of his life, he was fearful to the citizens. What else he would do? Translation.
The boy was so cruel that while playing with young boys of his age, he would kill them very mercilessly, as if they were animals meant for slaughter.
Next.
After seeing the cruel and merciless behavior of his son, Vena, King Ang punished him in different ways to reform him, but was unable to bring him to the path of gentleness. He thus became greatly aggrieved.
So he tried everything to rectify and reform this child, but it was of no use. So ultimately, seeing the sinful activities of his son, this Anga Maharaj, he became so disgusted with his entire family life. He ultimately left home. Translation, next verse.
The king thought to himself, persons who have no son are certainly fortunate. They must have worshipped the Lord in their previous lives so that they would not have to suffer the unbearable unhappiness caused by a bad son.
Just see, that's how this material world is. When the Lord wants to, teach a lesson, he does it in a very, very royal way. Here, Lord wanted this Anga Maharaj to become detached. He wanted a son so desperately. He got a son, and now his son is so sinful that what is he praying? He's saying, they are those who don't have sons, they are fortunate because it is so very unbearable to get a bad son. Translation. Okay, I'll cite this 44th verse. यतः पापीयसी कीर्तिरधर्मश्च महानृणां यतो विरोधः सर्वेषां यत आधिरनन्तकः. Translation.
A sinful son causes a person's reputation to vanish. His irreligious activities at home cause irreligion and quarrel among everyone, and this creates only endless anxiety.
Okay, so sinful sons destroys the reputation, causes irreligion, papiyasi kirti. All the reputation is destroyed by a bad son. Adharma, irreligion progresses in the house if the son is bad. And what it creates is unlimited anxiety. Adhi ananta. Adhi means anxiety. So Prabhupada writes, it is said that a married couple must have a son. Putrahinam griham shunyam. Again Prabhupada writes, but a son born without good qualities is as good as a blind eye. There is blind eye has no use for seeing, and it is simply painful. So this Vena, Anga Maharaj is really disturbed, disgusted, upset. He says, he continues. Yeah, translation.
Who, if he is considerate and intelligent, would desire such a worthless son? Such a son is nothing but a bond of illusion for the living entity, and he makes one's home miserable. Hare Krishna.
It is this type of son is klesha the griha. He creates a miserable home. When the son is bad, with no good qualities, he makes the entire home miserable. Chakravarti Thakur writes, such a person is a son in the name only, actually being an ocean of suffering. The king decided that out of public shame, he would leave the house full of mental pain, worship the Lord day and night in an unknown place, while taking only roots and fruits, and in that way would make the rest of his life worthwhile. So, as he's speaking all these things, these are the thought process going on in his mind. Better to leave, better to worship the Lord. Whatever time I have remaining, I will make it worthwhile. Otherwise, my entire life is wasted because of such son. And then he speaks very interesting. Kadapatyam varam manye sad apatyashu champadat nirvidyeta grihan martyo yatklesha nivaha griha. And then, as he's condemning his bad son, he says actually bad son is better than good son. Translation.
Then the king
Then the
thought,
king thought a bad son is better than a good son because a good son creates an attachment for God, whereas a bad son does not. A bad son creates a hellish home from which an intelligent man naturally becomes very easily detached. Right.
Apatyam varam. Kadapatyam. A bad son is varam manye, better than a good son. Because good son creates attachment and bad son creates detachment. So therefore it is wonderful that my son is bad. I am not attached to my family now. And Prabhupada writes how this family life is a deep, dark, blind well. Grihamandha kupam. Hitvatma patam grihamandha kupam. So Anga Maharaj, he is disgusted and ultimately he is thanking the Lord for giving a bad son, which created an impetus for detachment. Prabhupada writes, Anga Maharaj, therefore, thinking in terms of detachment, accepted his bad son as a good impetus for detachment from family life. And thinking like this, one day, what happened? Translation.
Thinking like that, King Anga could not sleep at night. He became completely indifferent to household life. Once, therefore, in the dead of night, he got up from bed and left Vena's mother, his wife, who was sleeping deeply. He gave up all attraction for his greatly opulent kingdom, and unseen by anyone, he very silently gave up his home and opulences and proceeded towards the forest.
Okay. So ultimately, as expected, as he was contemplating so much, he could not sleep at night. We cannot even imagine the anxiety of Anga Maharaj. The responsibility of a king is to give a good son who can become a good king. But Anga Maharaj, he was so disgusted. Every day, every night, he was thinking how unfortunate he was, and ultimately he was not able to sleep. So one day he left. Prabhupada focuses on this word Maha Udaya Udayat, opulent by the blessings of the great souls. Prabhupada writes, Mahodaya Udayat means by the blessings of the great souls, one becomes materially opulent. But when one gives up attachment to material wealth, that should be considered an even greater blessings from the great souls. So although this Anga Maharaj was such a great king, opulent, he was practically the king of entire world, not an ordinary personality. To give up that is a greater blessing. To develop detachment is a greater blessing, because it is not so easy to develop attachment to the Supreme Lord. We hear about the great kings like Bharat Maharaj, Daragara Putrapta, what is that verse? He says, Jaho Yuveva Malavat Uttama Shloka Lalasa. He gave up everything, his kingdom, his wife, his property, everything, like a person passes stool and leaves. So it requires great mercy of the Lord to develop detachment in such a way. And it requires mercy of the great souls. Mahodayodayat. It is the blessings, only by the blessings of great souls one can become detached. When Raghunath Das Goswami went to Nityananda Prabhu seeking blessings, that I want to leave everything and go and join Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Nityananda Prabhu told all the devotees, please give him your blessings. Sabe Ashirvad kar pauka Chaitanya Charane. All of you, please give blessings to Raghunath. He wants to give up his family life and he wants to surrender to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Unless you all bless him, it is not possible. Sabe Ashirvad kar pauka Chaitanya Charane. Unless we get the blessings of the great souls, it is not possible to develop detachment from this world. Prabhupada writes, it was not a very easy task for the king to give up his kingdom, young faithful wife, but it was certainly a great blessing of the Supreme Lord that he could give up and go to forest. Then what happened? Next verse.
When it was understood that the king had indifferently left home, all the citizens, priests, ministers, friends, and people in general were greatly aggrieved. They began to search for him all over the world, just as a less experienced mystic searches out the super soul within himself.
Very interesting example. A less experienced mystic cannot find the Lord. He is Kuyogi. The word used is Kuyogina. The same word has come in the first canto also. When Narada boy, he was meditating on the Lord, and the Lord appeared in his heart and then disappeared, and then he heard a voice. He said, in this life, you will not be able to see me again because of two reasons. Avipakva kashayanam durdarshoham kuyoginam. The same exact word is used there also. I don't give darshan to those who are not mature in their devotion and those who are not good yogi, kuyogina. Those who are not mature and those who are not good in their practices. Avipakva. So there actually Lord told that you are not kuyogi because I gave you darshan. So here the same thing it is described. A kuyogi never gets darshan of the Lord. So all these citizens, they were searching for him all over the world, not just in one place, but they could not find him. When the king left, it was uncertain that he was staying somewhere else because the citizens did not know how to find him, they were frustrated like less intelligent mystics. Translation, the last verse.
When the citizens could not find any trace of the king after searching for him everywhere, they were very disappointed and they returned to the city where all the great sages of the country assembled because of the king's absence. With tears in their eyes, the citizens offered respectful obeisances and informed the sages in a full detail that they were unable to find the king anywhere. Hare Krishna.
So that's how, after searching for the king everywhere, they came back and they informed the sages that they could not find. So that's the end of this chapter. We will also stop here. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srimad Bhagvatam ki jai.
Thank you, Puji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.